wasn't like he was really walking. It was kind of like he glided those 3 steps across. Like it sounds stupid and almost unimaginable, but it was like almost that he didn't even touch the ground when he walked across there. That's how smooth he moved. And he didn't just like stand under there, and wait a second. He glided there, and when he got underneath the tree stand, in one fell swoop, had his hand on my tree stand, and then looked up and yelled. And I say roared, but he was probably yelling and screaming at me.
As far as the way they move, and I've heard probably half a dozen, maybe a dozen encounters like this to where they run down deer or wild hog. And when hunters describe it, they describe it very much like how you just did. I mean, it's like a flash, they snap the neck and the animal's dead and they're walking off with it. Listening to the way you describe the way they move and, other eyewitnesses, it makes you wonder, I don't know any other animal on the planet that can move the way these things move.
It was like something in the 80s. Okay, we had the movie The Howling, how fast those things move in that movie. That's the speed. That's the terror. That's, they didn't look like that, obviously, but I'm just trying to compare. That's how fast, aggressive, and mean, if anybody can remember that iconic 80s horror movie, it was right out of a freaking horror movie. Pure horror. I can't, Wes, I've been to war and I wasn't as afraid as when I was there. And that sounds stupid. And especially with, what's going on in the world today and everything. But I was getting shot at and I wasn't as afraid as when I was then.
So this thing is running across the road, and I've heard a lot of stories about like the way that these animals run. This was not the case for what I saw, right? So what I saw was what looked to be dead sprinting. It looked like if something was running as fast as it possibly could, that's what it looked like to me. It was very fast. And then I say this, I played sports my entire life growing up, right? So I used to play running back. I'm used to watching things run, and whatever this was extremely, extremely fast. Okay, and I could tell though it had no shoes on, no shirt, no shorts. So all I could think of in my head was, is this a naked person running through the woods, right? So I know that's kind of a little bit weird, but as I'm watching it across the road, right, it never looked at me, it never checked up, it never slowed down, and there's big ditches on either side of the road out in the country like that, because it rains and the water, comes down those ditches. It never stopped on any one of those ditches. It never slowed up, and I watched it run from one side of the woods all the way across the road, dead sprinting, all the way into the woods, and then maybe for another 100 yards into the right side of the road, I could see it sprinting off through the woods with now mind you, the population in this area is maybe 80 to 100 people. I'm 3 to 5 miles away from the closest house, much less any kind of establishment like that. It's 20 degrees in January, and I'm like, I just saw a naked dude running through the woods. A lot of people talk about the size of things they see. And this, I can tell you for a fact, probably wasn't in the 8 to 9 foot range. However, it was absolutely like a full grown. It would be probably about the size of a full grown large person, if I was to guess, maybe 6 foot to 6'5". And it was very, very fast. I just remember it being so fast, and I couldn't make out any facial features because I was just so absorbed in kind of looking at the body. And I'm thinking, it's 20 degrees. I've got like hunting jacket on and everything, and this was what appeared to be nude. Okay, and I was like, what was that? Anyways, fast forward. So it kind of weirded me out. I didn't really know what to think of the whole situation. I was standing outside of my truck in the middle of the highway at this point. But I came there to hunt, right? So whatever it was, didn't freak me out enough to stop me from hunting.
And then that's when the fear set in, because if this thing wanted to, it could have easily, if there was 2 of them, in fact, they could have easily ran us down, just going based off of other eyewitnesses with, saying how fast these things are moving. And when it was running through that field, it was like a cartoon or something. It didn't make sense how he was moving. It was like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but the legs were going, and it was just, I don't want to say floating, but man, like that's a pretty accurate description of what it looked like. It was just gliding across, and the terrain had no effect on its upper body. Like his legs were like shock absorbers almost, and it just cruised through the field like nothing. And but after we passed it, that's when the fear set in, because like, man, these things
and crossed the farm road that we were on, we got another pretty good look at it and how it ran. And I wouldn't say, I don't remember that it looked like it was gliding, because some people talk about how these things look like they're gliding. It wasn't really like that, although it did not bend its knees. It's like Patty, when she ran, the knees were bent. They're not straight like a human. And so it ran across the road in front of us. And at that point, we were right at the base of a hill, and it ran across the road, and it ran into a property owned by the Wiper family. And not anymore. It's all grapes by some other vintner that bought up all the land up there. But at that point, it was owned by a private a family, and it ran through the area in front of their barns and their shop. And of course, there was nobody there. And it ran through between the barns and the shop, and through about another couple of 100 feet of their orchard, which was walnuts also. And then it just ran into the brushland, into this brush that's 10, 15, 20 feet high, and very difficult for a man to even walk through it. And this thing just plowed through it like nothing could stop it. So we lost sight of it.
But the way it walked, I can't describe it. It just had a funny walk about it. The way it took its steps, it looked awkward. I can't describe it. It looked like, I don't know. It just had a funny walk about it. It looked like it was floating, to tell you the truth. It just, from what I saw, I was in a bit of shock when I saw it. I don't know. Can't describe the walk. It was just very smooth, you know what I mean? Like he just glided across the road like it was nothing.
And this thing takes 2 steps. And I heard one of your episodes recently, and somebody described the Bigfoot as like going down an escalator.
Well, I look up, it's like I say, expecting to see some deer or something like that. And there is something running away from me. Not like this would be about 10 o'clock in my perspective. And it's running out and across. So it's running towards like 1 o'clock. And this thing is moving so fast. And it's not a bear. It's not running down on the ground or anything like that. There's something upright running at a speed that my brain couldn't even catch up to it. I saw this black thing. The further it got out there, my brain and my eyes kind of melt. I mean, this thing must have ran 80 yards in 3 or 4 seconds. It was just a blur. And it wasn't crashing. I've heard a lot of your shows and you can hear this thing crashing. It wasn't making any sound like that. It almost looked like it was flying across the ground. Okay, so I'm still in the woods. There's trees all over. I can see it every time we would run behind a tree. I'd see it disappear for a split, a split whatever, and then pop out the other side. Well, it gets up to right about 1 o'clock on my, looking straight ahead, basically a little bit to the right. And there's a larger tree out there. And all of a sudden, it does not pop out the other side of this tree. And I recall thinking to myself, I was like, did that thing just stop behind that tree?
Quiet.